Hi friends, welcome to English class. Our CASUARINA tree by Toru Dutt. Figures of speech. 12th English poem Unit 2 Tamil Nadu Samacheer Kalvi. Let's read the first stanza of the poem, followed by let's analyze the figures of speech. Like a huge python winding round and round, the rugged trunk indented deep with the scars, up to its very summit near the stars, a creeper climbs in whose embrace bound no other tree could live but gallantly. The giant wears the scarf and flowers are hung in crimson clusters all the boughs among, whereon all day are gathered bird and bee, and oft at nights the garden overflows with one sweet song that seems to have no close, sung darkling from our tree while men repose. Like a huge python winding round and round. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is simile. Creeper is compared with the python using the comparative word like. Like a huge python winding round and round. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is zoomorphism. Creeper is described in animal term python. Like a huge python winding round and round. Identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above lines are round, round. Initial consonant sound R is repeated. Like a huge python winding round and round. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is repetition. The same word round is repeated to make the idea more clear. The giant wears the scarf and flowers are hung. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is metaphor. Creeper is compared with the scarf without using the comparative word like and as. The giant wears the scarf and flowers are hung. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. The tree is personified as if it wears the scarf. In crimson clusters all the boughs among. Identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above line are crimson clusters. Initial consonant sound C is repeated. Whereon all day are gathered bird and bee. Identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above line are bird, bee. Initial consonant sound B is repeated. With one sweet song that seems to have no close, identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above line are sweet, song, seems. Initial consonant sound S is repeated. Up to its very summit near the stars. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is hyperbole. The growth of the tree is extremely exaggerated as if it is near the stars. Up to its very summit near the stars. Identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above line are summit stars. The initial consonant sound S is repeated. A creeper climbs in whose embrace is bound. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. Creeper is personified as if it climbs the tree. Second stanza. When first my casement is wide open through, at dawn my eyes delighted on its rest. Sometimes, and most in winter on its crest, a grey baboon sits the statue like alone, watching the sunrise while on lower boughs, his puny offspring leap about and play, and far and near Kogilas hail the day, and to their pastures when our sleepy cows, and in the shadow on the broad tank cast by that hoar tree so beautiful and vast, the water lilies spring like snow enmasked. A grey baboon sits a statue like alone. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is simile. A grey baboon is compared with a statue using comparative word like. The water lilies spring like snow enmasked. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is simile. Spring of the water lilies is compared with a snow enmasked using the comparative word like. At dawn my eyes delighted on it rest. Identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above line are dawn, delighted. Initial consonant sound D is repeated. The water lilies spring like snow enmasked. Identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above line are lilies like. Initial consonant sound L is repeated. Let's move on to the third stanza, but not because of its magnificence. Dear is the CASUARINA to my soul. Beneath it we have played, though years may roll. O sweet companions loved with love intense. For your sakes shall the tree be ever dear. Blend with your images it shall arise in memory till the hot tears blind mine eyes. What is that dridge like murmur that I hear? Like the sea breaking on a shingle beach, it is the tree's lament and eerie speech that happily to the unknown land may reach. O sweet companions, loved with love intense, identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above line are loved, love. The initial consonant sound L is repeated. Like the sea breaking on the single beach, identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words in the above line are breaking beach. Initial consonant sound B is repeated. What is that dridge like murmur that I hear? Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is a rhetorical question. It is a question which does not expect any answer. Like the sea breaking on a shingle beach, identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is simile. Tree's murmur is compared with the sound of the sea using the comparative word like. It is the tree's lament and eerie speech. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. Tree is personified as if it laments. What is that a dridge like murmur that I hear? Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is simile. Tree's sound is compared with murmur using the comparative word like. O sweet companions loved with love intense. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is apostrophe. The tree is absent. This line is to the tree which is absent. Shall we move on to the next stanza? Unknown yet well known to the eye of faith, I have heard that wail far, far away. In distant lands by many a sheltered bay, when slumbered in his cave the wind water writhed, and the waves gently kissed the classic shore of France or Italy beneath the moon, when earth lay tranced in a dreamless swoon, and every time the music rose before mine inner vision, rose a form sublime. Thy form, O tree, as in my happy prime, I saw thee in my own loved native clime. Unknown yet well known to the eye of faith, identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. Faith is personified as if it has eye. And the waves gently kissed the classic shore. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. Waves is personified as if it kisses the shore. When earth lay tranced in a dreamless swoon, identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. Earth is personified as if it is dreaming. Thy form, O tree, as in my happy prime. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. Tree is personified as human by addressing it as thy and by capitalizing T. When slumbered in his cave, the water writhed. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. Wave is personified as if it is slumbering in his cave. Slumbering meaning sleeping. Ah, I have heard that wail far, far away. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is repetition. The same word far is repeated to make idea more clear. Ah, I have heard that wail far, far away. Identify the alliterated words in the above line. The alliterated words are far, far. The initial consonant sound F is repeated. Let's move on to the last stanza. Therefore, I fain would consecrate a lay unto thy honor, tree beloved of those who now in blessed sleep for our repose. Dearer than life to me, alas, were they. Mayest thou be numbered when my days are done, with deathless trees like those in Borodile, under whose awful branches lingered pale, fear, trembling, hope, and death, the skeleton, and time, the shadow. And though weak the verse that would thy beauty fain, O fain regards, may love defend thee from oblivion's curse. With deathless trees like those in Borodale, under whose awful branches lingered pale, fear, trembling, hope, and death, the skeleton and time, the shadow. Identify the figure of speech in the above lines. The figure of speech is allusion. It is a quotation taken from the ode Ye Tree by William Wordsworth. May love defend thee from oblivion's curse. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is personification. Love is personified as if the defense against the oblivion's curse. Who now in blessed sleep for our repose. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is euphemism. The inoffensive word blessed sleep is used in the place of an offensive word death. That would thy beauty fain, O fain, rehearse. Identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is a repetition. The word fain is repeated to make the idea more clear. With deathless trees like those in Borodile, identify the figure of speech in the above line. The figure of speech is simile. CASUARINA tree is compared with the trees in Borodile by using the comparative word like. That's it with me today. Please subscribe, like, share, comment. If you have any topic for making video, you can suggest in the comment box. Thank you.